Hello, this is Chef John from foodwishes.com with buffalo chicken wings in a jar. That's right, this amazing spread offers all the same things traditional buffalo chicken wings do, except the bones, the messy frying, and of course your drunk friends dripping sauce all over the place. And as if that wasn't enough, we're also going to learn how to make some blue cheese crostini, which alone are worth the price of admission. So with that, let's go ahead and get started with some possibly very shocking news. No chicken wings will be harmed in the making of this recipe, since we're actually going to use these large bone-in, skin-on thighs, which to a chef is just a larger, much easier to work with chicken wing. All right, same taste, same texture, same fat, just way faster and easier to deal with. And what we'll do is take those to the stove and place them skin side down into a dry saucepan that we've gotten nice and hot over high heat. Okay, and we really do want to hear a sizzle when we place those in. Otherwise, it wasn't hot enough. And what we'll do is let those sear just like that for about 5 or 6 minutes. And the reason we didn't need any fat in the pan is because that skin has a lot of fat, which is going to render out and allow these to brown up quite nicely. And even though we are going to season our spread at the end of production, we will still at this point sprinkle over a generous amount of salt on that meat side. At which point we'll go ahead and flip those over and proceed to add what is basically your classic buffalo chicken wing sauce, which includes half a stick of unsalted butter. Although the original recipe was actually made with margarine. But as you know, we don't use that around here. And then to that we will add our favorite brand of Louisiana hot sauce. Alright, Frank's would be the most popular choice, but I'm a Crystal guy. And then besides that, we will also add a little splash of water. And then once all that's in there, all we're going to do is wait for that butter to melt while we give everything a toss in the sauce, which in the business we refer to as a sauce toss. And then what's going to happen once that butter eventually melts, and our chicken thighs have been thoughtfully tossed and coated, is we will turn our heat down to low, cover this, and let it cook for about an hour and a half, or until very tender. And of course, during that time, if you want to give these a toss or two, go ahead. And what we're eventually looking for, like I said, about an hour and a half or so later, would be some extremely tender meat that's basically going to fall right off the bone if we move it around with the tongs, which is what I've achieved here. And then what we'll do once it's nice and tender like this is go ahead and break it into nice small pieces with our tongs. And the reason for this is because what's going to happen next is we're going to let this cool down to room temp. And by breaking this stuff up into some nice small pieces, I think it's going to better absorb all those amazing flavors from our sauce. So we'll go ahead and break that apart as shown. At which point, like I said, we're going to let this cool down to room temp, or at least cool enough to handle. So that's what I did. And then what we'll do once this is ready to handle is transfer everything into a mixing bowl except 3 things. Okay, 2 for sure, but probably 3. Okay, first, of course, we're going to pull out any bones. And then there's also going to be a few small pieces of cartilage from the joint, which are going to be pretty easy to see and feel. And we will have to remove those also. And then the third thing you could remove would be the skin, which I do if there's any large pieces, but there might be some little small pieces to get through, that's fine. And one of these days I'm going to take that skin, chop it up, and maybe fry it and add it back in. But this is just a quick getting ready for a big party version. So we'll go ahead and pick that chicken. And then once it's in the bowl, it's not a bad idea to go through it one more time, maybe breaking up some of those bigger pieces. And also it gives us one last chance to make sure we didn't miss anything inedible. Okay, we're trying to make our guests happy, not their lawyers. And then once we're done with that, we're going to have a bowl of 100% edible meat, the rest of our sauce, and of course our discarded bones, cartilage, and or skin. And then what we'll do next is take that sauce back to the stove, where we'll place it on medium-high heat, just to reduce it down and concentrate those flavors a little bit. All right, we probably could have just added that back to the chicken as is, but as some of you know, I get paid by the step. And this is only going to take like 3 or 4 minutes to do. So we'll simply boil that for a few minutes to evaporate some of that water up out of there. And if everything goes according to plan, once you're done, it should look something like this. At which point, we'll carefully go ahead and add that back to our chicken. And then we'll take a spoon and give that a thorough mixing. At which point, we're going to want to give it a taste, and then make a few decisions. Okay, it's probably going to need more salt, and depending on how spicy you want it, maybe some cayenne. As well as, quite possibly, another splash or 2 of Louisiana hot sauce. And as you can see, I ended up putting in all 3. And then I gave it a mix and, of course, another taste. And once that's seasoned exactly how we want, we will add the last ingredient, some finely diced celery, which because of its subtle bitterness, really does help bring out all the other flavors. But it's also going to add a nice little textural contrast, Not to mention, celery sticks are always served alongside buffalo chicken wings. And then what we'll do once all that's mixed up is go ahead and transfer it into whatever jar we're going to serve this out of. All right, any old mason jar will do. So don't let the fact I'm using some fancy French one throw you off. Which reminds me, if we were doing this in France, we would be calling this a buffalo chicken rillette. And man, would people be confused. But anyway, we'll go ahead and fill and pack our jar or crock. And once all that's nicely pressed down, I decided to garnish the top with a little bit of hot sauce, just for a little extra visual appeal, and to sort of warn people they might be getting into something a little bit spicy. And that's it. Once packed and sauced, we'll go ahead and seal that up and pop it in the fridge until we're ready to serve it. And yes, you can absolutely, and probably should, do this the day ahead. And then once that's set, we need to prep our blue cheese crostini. Since just like the celery, blue cheese is a traditional garnish for the chicken wings. And that's going to start by us cutting and panning up some sliced baguette. About a 1/4 inch thick is ideal. And what we'll do first is generously brush these with butter. And just on one side is fine. At which point we will transfer those into the center of a 350-degree oven for about 20 minutes or so, or until they just start to turn golden brown. And then while those are in the oven, we're going to take some room temperature blue cheese, all right, something nice, nothing pre-crumbled, and we're going to mix in roughly an equal part of room temperature unsalted butter. And we'll go ahead and give that a thorough mixing with our knife, at which point we can set that aside. And we'll go ahead and pull out our now golden brown crostini. And then to finish these, all we have to do is let these cool down enough to handle, at which point we're going to spread each one with our blue cheese butter. And how much is going to be up to you, but I'm probably doing about 1/2 to a teaspoon on each. And for whatever reason, if you're not into whipping up a batch of these, you could as an alternative add some blue cheese to the spread, and then just serve that on plain crostini, or bread or crackers. Okay, so that's up to you. I mean, you are after all the Jim Kelly of how it gets into your belly. But having said that, these really are incredible, and you should probably make some even if you're not doing the buffalo chicken spread. And that's it. Once these have all been blue cheesed, we will simply pop those back in the oven for about 10 to 12 minutes, or until that blue cheese butter bakes in, and these are as golden brown and crispy as we want. And that's it. Once your crostini are cooled, we can move into final service. So I line those up on a serving platter and place my buffalo chicken wings in a jar nearby, and then decide to garnish with a nice sprig of celery leaves. You know, in case anyone at the party wants to Instagram this. Which is why I also got rid of that unsightly orange rubber ring. And that's it. Our buffalo chicken wings in a jar are ready to enjoy. And what I love so much about this re-envisioned buffalo chicken wing experience is that we get all the flavor elements. Right, the chicken, the hot sauce, the butter, the blue cheese, the celery. We get all that in a 100% boneless, 100% edible, fully spreadable form. And by the way, unlike chicken wings that are only crispy for a couple minutes, because we're enjoying this on the blue cheese crostini, every bite is crispy. And if you're thinking, sure, but this is not hot. Well, you know what? Neither are those chicken wings at the party, once they've been sitting on the platter for more than a couple minutes. Which reminds me, not a bad idea to pull this stuff out of the fridge about a half hour before you're going to serve it, so it isn't ice cold. But anyway, that's it. What I'm calling buffalo chicken wings in a jar. Everything you love about the classic hot wing in a much, much more user-friendly form. Right, like I said earlier, you don't have to worry about your friends dripping buffalo chicken wing sauce all over everything, which will free them up to drip other things like nacho cheese sauce. So if you are a fan of the buffalo chicken wing and want to enjoy it in its most luxurious form, I really do hope you give this a try soon. So please follow the links below for all the ingredient amounts, a printable written recipe, and much more info as usual. And as always, enjoy.